All right, today we're diving into something massive, a plan so big it's creating the largest free trade area on the entire planet, and it could totally reshape the global economy. We're talking about the AfCFTA. But, the big question isn't just about the grand vision. It's about what this all means for the entrepreneurs, the small business owners right there on the ground in Africa. So, let's get into it. Let's just start with this number right here. $450 billion. That's not a typo. According to the World Bank, that is the potential boost to Africa's income by 2035 if this new trade agreement pulls it off. It's just a staggering figure, right? And it really gives you a sense of the sheer scale of the opportunity we're going to unpack. So what exactly is the AfCFTA? Well, to put it simply, it's this huge agreement to create the world's largest free trade area by population. The goal here is to just tear down all those trade barriers between African nations and create one single unified market. We're talking about 1.3 billion people. A good way to think about it, it's kind of like the European Union, but for Africa. And to really get why this is such a big deal, you got to see the before picture. Africa's economic landscape was super fragmented. Most countries had pretty small domestic markets, which made it incredibly hard for their businesses to get big enough to really compete on the world stage. The AfCFTA's big idea is to change all of that, fundamentally.
In this chart, it shows you exactly what that fragmentation looks like. It's pretty wild. Before this whole thing, more than half of the continent's entire GDP was concentrated in just 3 countries: Egypt, Nigeria, and South Africa. So what the AfCFTA is trying to do is rebalance the scales, right? Create opportunities for everyone, not just the usual economic giants.
Okay, so at the absolute heart of this entire story, you've got the real heroes, Africa's small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs. These are the engines of what people are calling the Made in Africa revolution. And let me be clear, their success is absolutely central to whether this whole project sinks or swims.
And look, you really can't overstate their importance. Seriously, SMEs aren't just part of the African economy. In so many ways, they are the economy. We're talking 90% of all businesses, a whopping 85% of all jobs. So for this massive trade deal to actually work, it has to work for them, period.
So the promise for these businesses, it's just huge. Can you imagine you're a small business owner and your potential customer base suddenly explodes from just your home country to a market of 1.3 times billion people? It means you can get your raw materials cheaper from a country next door, and you can build supply chains that are proudly African from the very start to the very finish.
And this quote, this really captures the whole vision perfectly. For decades, this amazing high-quality beef from Botswana was mostly exported outside of Africa. The goal now, to have that exact same beef on dinner tables in Ghana, in Kenya, in Egypt. It's about a fundamental shift, Africans producing for other Africans.
But, of course, a dream this big, it doesn't just happen overnight. You know that. While the promise is enormous, the path forward is, it's a gauntlet. It's filled with really complex challenges, especially for those small businesses we've been rooting for.
So that leads to the big question, right? With this incredible opportunity just sitting there on the table, what's actually stopping a small entrepreneur in, let's say, Tanzania from selling her products in Nigeria? What are the roadblocks?
Well, for starters, it's a classic David versus Goliath situation. You've got these huge multinational corporations with super deep pockets and massive global supply chains. They have entire departments of people just to figure out complicated trade rules. And then you have the SMEs, often working with very little capital and tiny teams. It's just a completely uneven playing field from the get-go.
And the hurdles, they are just immense. Just try getting an affordable loan, or try to make sense of all the confusing regulations. Then pile on top of that poor infrastructure that makes shipping slow and super expensive, and even high cost for basic things like good packaging. Each one of these, on its own, is a major barrier.
Okay, but this is not a story of doom and gloom. Not at all. This is the turning point. Because there is an entire arsenal of tools, of concrete solutions being built right now to help these small businesses navigate that gauntlet and actually win.
And let's look at another big number, $10 billion. That's the target for what is truly a game-changing financial tool, one designed specifically to help both countries and private businesses manage this huge transition.
It's called the AfCFTA Adjustment Fund, and you can think of it like a financial safety net. It's there to provide loans and grants to help businesses upgrade their factories, retrain their staff, basically to absorb those first big shocks of new competition so they can come out on the other side stronger and ready to grow.
Now, check this out. Here is a brilliantly simple, totally practical solution to a major problem. It's a concept called groupage. Okay, so think about it. Most small businesses can't afford to ship a whole container full of goods. So what if they just teamed up?
The process is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful. You have these business support organizations, or BSOs, and they gather up all the small shipments from a bunch of different SMEs. They consolidate them into one big cargo, and then they ship it all together. The costs get shared, which suddenly makes exporting affordable for so many of these businesses for the very first time. And this isn't just theory. It's already helping businesses in Ghana reach brand new markets in Kenya. And this quote from the UNDP's regional AfCFTA advisor really hits the nail on the head. Success isn't just going to happen by accident. It requires intentional, deliberate, strategic support from a whole ecosystem of organizations that are dedicated to helping these businesses thrive.
And that support network, it's already taking shape right now. You've got the UN Development Program, which has already helped over 12,000 small businesses in 30 countries. You've got the International Trade Center helping entrepreneurs get financing and figure out new markets. And the AfCFTA Secretariat itself is busy building online tools to make the rules simpler and even let businesses report trade barriers they run into.
So this is really the journey we're watching unfold. The long, sometimes challenging journey from just potential to actual prosperity. And, as leaders have been quick to point out, this isn't an overnight fix. Not at all. These kinds of big trade agreements can take decades to really show their full impact. But the crucial thing is, the foundation for a truly revolutionary change is being laid right now.
And the human impact, if they get this right, it's just breathtaking. We're talking about the potential to lift 100 million people out of poverty by 2035. That's 30 million out of extreme poverty and another 70 million out of moderate poverty. I mean, the stakes just could not be any higher.
Ultimately, the goal here is nothing less than moving the entire continent of Africa from the periphery to the absolute center of the global economy. It's a huge shift away from that old model of just exporting raw materials and moving towards a future that thrives on innovative, value-added products that are proudly made in Africa, by Africans, for Africans, and for the rest of the world. So that leaves us with this final thought. With the world's largest market opening up right at their doorstep and a growing toolkit of support to back them up, what will Africa's next generation of entrepreneurs create? You have to wonder, because the potential is truly limitless.